The Community Foundation focuses on 5 major areas, and anyone who puts these 5 areas side by side, I hope the answer is that there's essentially nothing that can't fall into one of them, but it allows us to tailor what we do to the interests that different people might have. Arts and culture is a major area of focus. Through the Arts Everywhere initiative, we've launched a beautiful website that provides a single window onto everything this community does in arts and culture. We have launched the Arts Everywhere magazine that showcases all of our local talent. It's 100% local content. It's our artists, our students, our teachers, our singers, our actors. It's all us, and it's beautiful.
Arts and culture in a community set a standard for that community. They bring vitality and energy, creativity, and I believe that we have a really flourishing art scene here. But again, as so often is the case, you have people working on something here and other things over here. The Arts Everywhere initiative has helped to focus our arts initiatives to bring people together. And I felt, as mayor of the city, that it was important for the city to be supportive of this.
Another area that is absolutely central to the Community Foundation's concern is youth and education. No matter what social issue you care about, all roads come back to education.
I don't know of anything more important to the health of a community than the education of its individuals. If we don't have an educated populace, it's hard to have a healthy, economic or socially healthy community. So I think that the foundation recognizes the challenges that are a part of education, and through its ability to secure resources, has been very instrumental, particularly in early childhood education, because it's the beginning that is so very, very critical.
And so we have focused tremendously on starting at the earliest ages, and we want to keep coloring in that picture as we go forward with more resources so that we can grab onto that little 1-year-old and not let go until that college diploma gets placed in their hands. We also care about community and economic development. So we care about neighborhoods. That's the lifeblood of any community. People don't think of economic development as a charitable cause, but it absolutely is, because if you're not fueling the economy of your community, what jobs are people going to get? How are they going to put food on their table?
Well, the African American Community Fund was a first, I think, of its kind, certainly in Indiana, and I think in many ways nationally, in the sense that African American families in the community, at the suggestion and conversation and encouragement with Rose Meisner, talked about beginning a fund as a part of the foundation that would enable us to support programs and activities that would enhance life for the African American community, which in turn enhances life for the entire community.
When I look at what African Americans have done throughout history, and when I look at all the shortcomings and some of the dysfunctional things that we've seen in our culture, this to me is one of the proudest moments of my life, is when I see African Americans come together, starting something of this kind.
To be honest with you, African Americans, we have always given, but it's always to the church, family members. So it has always been a challenge for me in asking contributors to go beyond that, to think of the big picture, the legacy piece, think of the big picture, controlling our destiny, think of the big picture, having a say-so in what is needed. And one way to do that is by giving.
We also look forward to doing even more in the future in the area of parks and recreation. I keep waiting for that individual who comes along that has a tremendous love for the environment and for parks and resources to boot, so that we can come up with some great idea. The 5th area that we are concerned about is health and human services. And we're blessed in this community with an outstanding health infrastructure, but we also have to look at what are the social services, the counseling, the mental health, the family supports that must be in place in any civilized community to help those people that are struggling.
The Senior Housing Initiative of the Community Foundation really is an important step to assist our seniors to be able to stay in their homes longer by helping to provide the ramps that are necessary, to widen doorways, to make the bathrooms more accessible as we become frailer.
What I think is interesting is that if you went back to 1992 and said, try to guess how large you'll be in 2007, if somebody said the number 38 million, we would have thought that was a very ambitious goal for our endowment. 38 million would have sounded like all the money in the world. What's amazing is it's not our endowment that's 38 million, it's the amount of money we've already granted back into the community.
One of the things that I think we frequently talk about and are very pleased with is the size of the endowment. But the size of the endowment doesn't mean a whole lot if you aren't very skillful at spending and applying and deciding what to do with that money. And I think perhaps one of the things about developing those processes over time is you also develop some real good ways of discerning what is the most compelling need and what is the most sustainable way to address some of those needs.
I think in the last several years we have become even more of a voice in the community and more of a source of activism in the community in a good way, where there isn't a contentment to kind of rest on laurels and to say, well, we have resources and we can just, dole those resources out, but to say, how can this best help the community as it moves forward?
One of the other advantages of the Community Foundation in St. Joseph County is that it's countywide. In this particular case, by having St. Joseph County, we serve South Bend, we serve Mishawaka, and we serve all the other smaller communities.
Part of what we will really see coming out of the Community Foundation is really a way to promote our community in a very positive way that sets us aside from other communities.
Problems are easier to solve with dollars. They don't solve problems, but it certainly makes it easier, and so I'd like to see us continue to grow the endowment fund. If we can demonstrate an impact to some of these issues that seem intractable at the time, if we can demonstrate an impact, money will follow a good idea.
One of the valuable aspects that I think the Community Foundation is already playing and will play in ever more powerful ways in the years ahead is around this issue of leadership. We have a new model for leadership, and it's through organizations like the Community Foundation. We still have now a vehicle through the Community Foundation to take the best and the brightest of our community and convene them not just around the question of fundraising, because as I said, money alone doesn't solve anything, but to convene them around what hopes does this community have for itself? What are the ideas that would get us there? Who has the capacity to implement them? And where will the money come from to make that possible?
Hopefully, the next 10 years we double our endowment fund and solve all the problems of the world. But in any event, I'll be watching carefully.
I don't know what we could do any more than we are, except anybody out there that might hear this, we would love your contributions.